Red Dog is 2 weeks in a row. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Really good. Look, I slept in a little bit this morning because I was enjoying some of the sports yesterday. You're a Knicks fan, aren't
I am a Knicks fan. How about friggin' the hustle, right? Everybody loves a little hustle, and the Knicks are hustling and playing hard. It's awesome. I
you?
think Brunson's given every 6'1" point guard hope that they could actually play in
Right.
college or in the NBA because he's awesome. He's tough as nails.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, he is something else. And, you think back and you're like, man, Dallas had Brunson and Luka, and now they have neither of those players. What on earth is going down there? Kid is tough as nails. Really good game last night. So, okay, good stuff. Look, we got a Fed week here. We had really, really low volume yesterday. We had Palantir earnings. I'm hoping you can break down the SPY, which is sitting right under its 200-day, maybe the Qs, and a couple of stocks for us. What do you think?
I'll do anything for you, my buddy.
Oh, listen to this. Let's go.
You had me at Knicks and Brunson, so now that SPYs, I'm yours forever. So let's go. So here's a chart of the SPYs right here. How cute, right? I think a lot of people thought that this topping candle on May 1st would be a short-term top, so they had to push it a little bit more. Always got to push it a little bit more and stop out some shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, now you have this double candle here yesterday. The weakness was absorbed today. We shall see. I think let me put a level 2 of the SPYs here. So the SPYs right now are down 5, right? 558. Can you see that in here?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I sold some premium yesterday as a hedge, and I'm a lot lighter than I've been the last few weeks. Yesterday I cleaned some stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 557.86, which is this gap pivot, and then you have both moving averages coming here. So I would think, if the market wants to be kind of constructive after shaking the tree a little bit, you would think this 553.55 kind of holds. And then you have the 50-day down here. So this would be kind of the line in the sand. It's just really hard. You think about it, Ryan. Market just, you had your low here, 21% off the highs, and then rejected into resistance. You had a higher low last week, which people kind of weren't expecting. This day was the day that I think most guys got long. This was the day we took out that high, and then we've been methodically moving higher. And now you have one of the, the generals of the rally, Palantir, down 10. So let's go to Palantir because I think that's going to be important. What do I think is important about it? It's like, so when you have a stock down 8.5%, right, which is what Palantir is down, the question is, does it put a low in the first 5, 15, 30 minutes, meaning like the morning low is 111.72, just say it goes to 112, okay, and then the SPYs that are right here start going down to 557, and Palantir bounces a little bit off that 112, maybe you try it, because it just gave you a signal to buy versus that low, and maybe it fills a portion of this 10-point gap. So how much of this gap gets filled today will be important for the demand for a momentum name like this. If it opens down 10 and closes down 15 or 20 today, I got to believe tech's going to be on its back heels and the market's not going to bounce today. If Palantir opens down 10 and closes down 4 or 5, chances are, other things in the hole will probably be bought. So I do think Palantir is pretty important.
I got a really quick follow-up question on that because that's a really good point, and we're definitely going to be watching both Palantir and the Qs in addition to the SPY here today. Do you make anything out of the implied move? Because we had the implied move yesterday being about 12.5%. We were really only seeing 8 or 9% here on Palantir. What do you make of that? You think we got maybe more to go?
Yeah, the implied move is really what the option guys are pricing in, and usually the option guys have control. So sometimes you blow out vol. When you hear something blowing out vol, it can have a crazy move, which is why people play options, because you want that crazy move. But usually it's typically within the implied move. So what did you say the implied move is?
12.4 is what I had yesterday.
All right, so right now it's down 8.3%. So another 4% would be what? Would that give you the 110-ish area?
Yep, sure would.
So 110-ish is all that is the low from April 30th. That's not even the 21 days. So usually you want to look at the implied move because that's the vested interest of the option guys, both long and short. So if someone doesn't know a direction, they buy a straddle. Usually they price the straddle what the implied move is, so they don't let people make free money without picking long or short, etc. So the implied move is pretty important, and we'll see. So that's why right now Palantir is kind of in no man's land. It's at 113 off the morning low. It's not quite at the implied move. So I would say you want to wait 5, 10, 15 minutes for a real signal before you start just jumping in here.
Okay, and if you do see Palantir trade down a little bit more and kind of look like it's trying to trade up off the low or catch its footing, that's signal for a dip and rip trade. Just a kind
Yeah,
of
I don't know about a rip, but a dip and bounce. But yeah, I would try it. But everyone on the Alpha team, we have an open house right now on the Alpha team, and I'm sure we'll all be looking at it to see if there's an opportunity.
Okay.
No one took it. Usually, I take option plays into earnings, and I didn't. So because there was a little FOMO that maybe it closed near 125 and could be enough to have a big move, but I was like, I'm not risking 10, 15 grand to make 30, 40 onto this. It's not in this market. Sometimes I do that. So for me, I feel like I have a free play here, where it was a power play in here. We sold it into this area. So now with it back at 113.45, I'd love to see a reset. Remember Spotify was very similar. Spotify came out and, another leader, another momentum name. Everyone's like, oh, it's not enough. They gapped it down here and then it was bought in the hole. And now look, it rebuilt, it's going sideways, and the chart looks great. So the question is, can Palantir do the same thing where they open it in the hole, comes off the lows, rebuilds, takes some time, and then takes out 125? Or is this going to be a double top with a big hole that doesn't get filled? And will we be in a corrective phase for, however long that takes?
Okay. Really, really good breakdown there on Palantir, folks. I hope you were paying attention because class was just in session. This is Scott Redler, Trade the Lead Up. And the aftermath of the Fed meeting live with Scott. It's totally free, May 5th through 9th. QR codes on the screen. Link is in the chat. Scott, that's what I want to ask you about next here. You got any thoughts for what we're going to see here with the Fed meeting, where the market might go? What do you look? The reason I'm asking is because you had already kind of covered it a little bit on the SPYs. We're sitting right beneath that 200. We talked about maybe back testing that. Well, I think it was the 20 with the 50 being the line in the sand. I think you said. What do you make of this Fed print? How are you kind of approaching this?
Well, I had a lot more risk on going into Friday and Monday. I did, lose a little bit of money yesterday, which happens as you de-risk.
Absolutely.
We could have had a deal over the weekend with China or India, and we could have been up 70 handles, and we weren't. So anyway, I took some of that off, and now I'm kind of flexible right here. So I'm cool with whatever goes on. Okay. Fed days aren't my favorite days. There's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of false moves. There's a lot of pockets of ways to lose money. I don't like to have pockets of ways to lose money. I like to make money. I'm sure you don't either, Ryan. So I will line up level. So it'd be nice if we could see, remember this 545 level. If we could see 545-ish, into the erratic trade of the Fed. No one thinks they're going to cut. Let's just see how they sound. Are they dovish or hawkish? Are they going to, you do have, some commodities disinflation, but you have goods inflation. So the stagflation word is not a friendly word for equities usually, but, depending on the week, it's either stagflation or Goldilocks. So right now we're kind of in the middle. If we get to 545-ish, that could be a compelling spot from 568 to 545. It's not a spot that I would buy the blood on the street account, but a spot that, hey, if you think that we're going to continue up, that would be a compelling spot to look to see what's happening. And now if you want to put retracements on here from just say this low to here, that's not a bad retracement. So that's something we'll see.
Okay.
That could be like a 340 story on Wednesday though. And right now it's only 842 on a Tuesday.
Okay. I think what I like the most about what you said there is that you're flexible and you really don't care and you're ready to go either way. That's the sign of experience. That's the type of position we want to put ourselves in regularly. I did want to ask you really quickly about HIMS. I know that they just reported that's recently been kind of a high flyer here. It's really made a nice pullback. I'm just wondering what you see in the chart here. One of the things that I kind of see maybe is a little bit of a head and shoulders, maybe some more downside here, but curious to hear what your outlook is on HIMS.
I'm not that involved in it. I know that right down here, some guys were talking about buying calls and got lucky on that news that came out. And then it was more calculated where it pulled back and then took out this high. So right now, HIMS is what? It's at 38.80. Where's 38.80? This is 36-ish. I don't know. I feel like it's a momentum name. It's, today is a bad day for it to be coming out with earnings because just the pressure pre-Fed, this and that. I would think that this area holds if it's going to be any good. It's not a name that it's not really a name in a sector that I love. It has to be perfect for me to trade it. But again, 38.80 is a spot. And then I would think, the 8-day, which is right around here, is 35. So into this area, this should hold if it's going to be any good, moving forward. But a lot of people do like it. I was on a Spaces yesterday. All those guys were talking about it, but they were all pretty respectable also. Like no one was really taking any FOMO risk into yesterday's numbers with Palantir, Hims, or even Dash. Let's get to Dash, because Dash is one of my babies that I've been playing for the last 6 months. I don't have an earnings play on, so that's nice. It's nice. I don't have money on the table losing, so I'm very excited about that. But here's the Dash. It's at 195. So the question is, last quarter, it was also down after the print. From what I hear from my fundamental guys, the print was just fine. They always say a little bit, cautionary things at the end. But, 195 is a spot. And then 188, I do think, the dip will be viable. That 215 is not going to be the high of 2025. So stay with Dash. And it's nice not to have a call spread on or this or that. And I'll see how it trades after. It's very loose and wide at times, so be careful. But I would think this 188-ish would be a great spot if it sees it. But chances are I might not even see that. That's 195 right there for Dash.
Okay. Dash is one of your babies. I'll remember that. Do you have any interest in Uber at all?
Uber's been acting great. I missed it.
Yeah.
Uber is right back to highs. I've had it before. For some reason, I feel like I just don't have great luck with this stock. I remember the Red Dog reversal down here.
Sure.
I think even, it looks great. It looks great. There's nothing I really could say bad about this. It's above all the moving averages. It's got momentum. It's coming into 87. Looks great. If any stock can make higher highs in the next week or two, Uber looks like it's a candidate.
Okay. Sounds really good. Is there any other stock that you wanted to cover here? I think I ran through all the ones I had on my list. Oh, we got to ask you about Tesla. You got to ask you about Tesla. You're famous for Tesla.
I'll tell you, Tesla lost me money the last 2 days, so I'm not very happy about it.
Okay.
But I will say Tesla's hanging on by a thread here. I think there is a little bit of optimism, even with me. I thought perhaps, you had a bit of a little pocket pivot here after a move down from, remember here, the Red Dog reversal at 488, all these lower highs came up, acted well post earnings. I made some good money post earnings. I was buying it right here. And then I was thinking that it could digest and then clear 294. It just hasn't happened yet. So for me, I came in yesterday. Like Friday looked great. It looked like I was going to take out 294 on Friday. I had TSLL, I had TSLL calls on, and then I reduced a bunch, and now I don't have any Tesla on. I'll look at it today. It'll be interesting if Tesla, which is down 2%, if it holds 272 to 274, maybe I'll look to buy Versa level. If it were to break that, it just looks like every other kind of lagging stock that doesn't look great. So, if you're long this thing and it breaks 272 and it stays below 272, I would get out of the way, because it's, take off the Elon Glossier and just look at the charts, and it's below all the moving averages and it's not leading. Tesla is best when it's leading, when it's ahead of the S&P. So is NVIDIA. When it's lagging and it's trying to play catch up, chances are you're reaching, which I was reaching a little bit into yesterday.
That's actually a really good way to summarize it. We've seen that I almost feel like Meta's a bit that way too. Really good when it's leading, maybe not so much if it's not. Okay, Red Dog.
Wait on that, Rye. Meta might be better. Meta reported a decent quarter last week. So did Microsoft. So did Google. So those three names are a little bit higher on my go-to list versus Amazon, Apple, and Tesla, because they had a decent print, and when the market wants to settle down, those should be names that act better. Like Microsoft is something that moved up my list. I haven't been trading Microsoft in months. Yesterday went red to green first. Today, maybe it does. Let's leave with Microsoft. Microsoft has a huge gap up. This is a pro earnings gap. There are some guys out there that probably would be long this as a swing versus 424. If it holds this gap, chances are it digests and continues in that motion. If you're trading it actively, this has got to hold 429, 432 today. You look at Microsoft itself as a whole, it just hasn't done anything in a year and a half. So now it's a time for Microsoft to potentially reassert. You know what that is? Push-ups every day. Been doing your push-ups, Ryan?
Yes, I have.
All right. So maybe it's going to reassert its dominance above 424 and continue back towards 468. It has the ball to lose. So let's see.
Okay. All right. Real good stuff. Red Dog, it's awesome catching up with you. Hopefully the next time you and I talk, we can be talking about a Knicks beating the Celtics in this entire series here. We'll see how that all shakes out.
Over a Red Dog sandwich.
Over a Red Dog sandwich. I'm still coming. I'll let you know when I get out to New Jersey. I'm coming there. That sounds awesome. All right.
All right.
Scott, we really appreciate your time, man. We'll catch up with you next time. Again, folks, trade the lead up to the aftermath of the Fed meeting live with Scott, May 5 through 9. QR codes at the top of the screen. Scott, take care of yourself. Have a great and profitable day. All right.